right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So it's episode 4 of the podcast here, the weekly podcast with Tyson from Let's Talk Jets Radio. What's going on, man?
I've had better days, man. How about yourself?
This is definitely, man. I got to be honest. Like, this is such a weird feeling, right? The Jets are 1-0. The defense looked great. Running game looked great. We were able to, battle back through adversity. Yeah. There were a lot of bright spots in last night's game, but it's like the dark cloud here. Aaron Rodgers out for the season, torn Achilles. I believe it was Tom Pelissero that reported that it's a complete tear.
Yeah. Yep.
Like done for the season, and it's going to be a long, lengthy recovery. Everybody knows Rodgers' age. You went to the game last night. Kind of give me your take. Of course, I was at home watching it on TV, so different kind of experience. But what was your? I mean, wild, I know what your reaction was, but
it was wild because the thing is, like, you enter the stadium and things were so exciting, man. Like that crowd was amped up. The Jets did a really good job with the green LED lights. Like you had so many really that crowd's been that fired up in a long time. Like you're ready to go. The defense comes on the field. They do their thing. And here comes Aaron Rodgers. You're like, this is our moment. Like our season begins. This is our time. And you see him go down. You're like, all right. Well, first of all, they weren't blocking for him. He was running for his life, which is scary right to begin with. You see him go down and you're like, all right, this may be like a little ankle injury, maybe his calf. Then you say, you know what? The problem is I'm old, dude, and I was at the Testaverde game in 99. When he went down, I was at that game, and it was the same eerie feeling. You're like, you've got to be kidding me. 4 plays in, and the injury looks serious. You see him go off on the cart, and you're like, that's it. To me, I'm like, our season's done. I cannot believe this. We're here already, and it's just the whole crowd was already shocked. You're stunned. Then you're hoping maybe come back at halftime. But with the Twitter now, you find out quickly what's going on, And you're kind of like heartbroken. Like, I can't believe this. But you're like, all right, it's still a good game. The Jets are in it. And you're like, you don't know what to do, man. And then like the aftermath of it, you're like, I cannot believe we're here. Like, think about last week, dude, our show last week. We were talking about Aaron Rodgers breaking all the passing records. All the things we were talking about, all like the stats, the records, all these things. And within one game, and the worst thing is they won it. Like we should be happy. Like we beat the Buffalo Bills at home, a game we said was not a must win, but a tone setter for the season. And it's like the Jets lost in a win, right? It's wild.
Yeah. So what was kind of the I don't know who you went with, but like what was kind of the reaction from like the people around you, behind you, in front of you? Like was it just like a silence kind of throughout the stadium?
Everybody was just shocked because you had when he ran out of the tunnel, the place was going crazy. You see him go on the field, the crowd's going nuts. You saw 8 jerseys everywhere. Little kids are wearing it. Everybody's wearing it. Like, this is their guy. Celebrities everywhere. Justin Timberlake was there. It was like the hottest ticket in town, man. People spent a lot of money to go to a game last night, and everybody's just shocked. All the longtime Jet fans also the same thing. Like, I cannot believe this happened again. Like, why can't we have nice things? And it's just like, you just don't believe it. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, how are we here again? This season of high expectations is now just turned upside down, where now you got to buy back into Zach Wilson. You got to buy back into this coaching staff. And you see so many other good things, which we'll talk about, the rest of the team. But it's just, I cannot believe we're here, dude. I genuinely cannot believe it.
Yeah, it's, God, I mean, it's so frustrating because it's like, it wasn't just like some, like, of course it was like a freak play, but it's like you look at the protection too, like the prior 2-3 passes that Rodgers dropped back, like the protection was not good. When Zach Wilson came in, the protection was not good. It's going to be something that and this is something that Jets fans have been talking about for literal months on end, and it's like it's such a deflating feeling, for sure. Of course, though, the Jets did win. And the one thing, I keep on saying, whether it's, through texts or calls with like my buddies, I was talking to my dad about it earlier today, gave me a call, just wanted to kind of get my reaction on it, on everything. And, cause he remembers the Testaverde thing, and he remembered, he was saying that he didn't think that Rodgers was, down for the count for like a season-ending Achilles injury, because he remembered Vinny Testaverde, like it was like an agonizing thing.
He grabbed it immediately. Yep.
Yeah,
I remember.
And and Rodgers, if you remember, he popped back up and like looked towards the sidelines, and then he had a look on his face and went back down and was like, I can't put any pressure on it, pretty much. But the one thing that I felt like was awesome about last night was Rodgers didn't go down with like 6 minutes left in the fourth, where he carried the team, threw for 350 and was looking
Yeah.
incredible. And we're going toe to toe with the Bills. It's not like the Jets blew Buffalo out because of Aaron Rodgers. No, he went down. The score was 0-0. He went down literally on the first
Yep.
drive of the game. So the Zach Wilson led, shell shocked Jets beat the Buffalo
Yep.
Bills pretty much, from the jump, and
Yep.
granted, the Bills did
100%.
dominate really the first half. I thought the play calling was absolutely atrocious in the first half, to continue to go away from the run and just understanding that Zach Wilson is in the game. Players' heads might not be so, focused on
Yep.
what's exactly focused on the game because of the Rodgers, injury,
Yep.
understanding the pass protection, and we just continue throwing it. I'm like, what the hell's going on? But then we got back to it in the second half, where it was just like, let's lean on Cook a little bit. Let's lean on Brees Hall. These guys look great. The run
Yep.
blocking compared to pass pro was night and day.
Yep.
What was kind of your takeaway from, Rodgers' injury aside, how the Jets kind of battled adversity, managed to win? I think I'd feel a lot different if the Jets lost 35-0 or something
Yeah.
like that, or it's just, a complete beatdown from Buffalo's perspective. I mean, we were pretty much like, the game was close. Like I just said it, Buffalo did dominate that first half, but
Yep.
what was the score going into halftime? 13-3.
13-3. Yep.
Yeah.
So
So it's like, it's a 10-point game, and our star quarterback played 4 snaps. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even though we had this devastating injury, it's like almost unbelievable to a certain degree. It's like we still managed to hang in the game, compete, and win the game in the end.
yeah, and that's like they're resilient. You got to give them a lot of credit for bouncing back, and it
Yeah.
just shows how much talent they have, how good the defense is. Because there was an emotional letdown. They're like, dude, we just lost our leader. They knew he was gone. Like, they know, players know on the sideline. They're like, this is serious, but you got to bounce back, and they're resilient. And that's the leadership of Mosley and Quinnen Williams and DJ Reed. All these guys, they're just like, refuse to lose mindset. They've been working their asses off. They know they got a good team, and you got to scratch and claw and fight it out. And just the offensive line. We can go position by position if you want. Like,
Yeah,
the offensive line to me was disappointing, and the problem is, this is what happens when you don't have all 5 guys practicing together throughout the entire training camp. When Dwayne Brown comes back 2 weeks before camp, or before this first game, like, he didn't look all that great. Mekhi Becton, hasn't played in 2 years. He's going to be rusty. They were struggling, dude. Like, the thing is, I was thinking about this before. It's like, Aaron Rodgers got hurt in the 4th play. He was going to get his ass kicked the entire game anyway, dude, because they weren't blocking anyway. It wasn't like this was like, oh my God, it was a fluke. No, he was under duress already. And Zach Wilson was taking a beating. There was the one hit where Zach, I think it was a late 3rd quarter, he was sliding down and got hit the other way. They're lucky he didn't
Milano, freaking
pounded him, dude. Like if they're lucky he didn't go to concussion protocol, because he got smoked. I'm like, can you imagine if that happened? Because Tim Boyle wasn't even active. He wasn't an emergency quarterback. Randall Cobb would have been freaking quarterbacking. Like, Zach was taking a beating, dude, and he's mobile. He can run. So Rodgers would have been running for his life, because even the quick throws he wasn't doing. So to me, like, your thoughts on the offensive line, like even Lake and Tomlinson, there was things that were concerning. Connor McGovern whiffed on a couple things. I'm like, bro, what was that? Like,
yeah, there was
a problem.
Yeah, there was a moment where Matt Milano shot a gap right by Connor McGovern and just blew up I think it was actually a quick pitch play to the left.
Yep.
From the offense's offensive perspective going to the left, Milano just shot the gap immediately and blew it up. I mean, he was a dominant force pretty much the entire night. I felt like again in run blocking, I felt like it was a lot better than pass protection. And, of course, we do have good backs too. So that says we have to bring that up. But yeah, pass protection, it was just, honestly, it was a mess. It was a complete mess. And what's even worse too, thinking about it, Von Miller didn't play. Von Miller's coming back at some point this season, and he's not going to be just some non-factor. Before the season started, he was their best pass rusher, one of their best players on the entire roster. He wasn't out there. So, I think looking ahead, looking at Dallas's defense with Dan Quinn, what they were able to do with against the Giants, looking at New England's defense, down early against Philly, but managed to keep New England in the game long enough for them to make a comeback and at least have a chance to win it in the end. And then thinking ahead to Kansas City and Denver, and not trying to get too far ahead of myself, but looking at like the next 3 games, like, 'cause I like to try to break the season up
Yeah,
into
yeah.
quarters, like
Yep, me
four,
too. Yep.
and we have to roll out a better product out in the field. Like it's inexcusable
Yep.
to me that the pass protection was this. And look, Buffalo's a great defense. They have a stacked roster defensively. New defensive play caller and Sean McDermott. I recognize that, and I can say, okay, it's one game. It's more experience that our guys have playing together. But it's like, if this is the same performance against Dallas
Yep.
in the trenches, and we just continue to go out there and try to throw the ball all over the yard, it might be a long day. I
No,
do not
and
want to see Zach Wilson running for his life
that's it.
again this season. Aaron Rodgers looked like that's what was going to happen if he stayed in the game. And
Yep.
it's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating, man.
No, and the thing is, too, you think about it now, you have a young quarterback in there that you're trying to rebuild. Like, he's a reclamation project, dude. You're trying to build back his confidence, get him to flow, have him learn the offense, get him flow his receivers, and he's running for his life. Like, that's the worst case scenario for Zach Wilson. Now you're going to go into Dallas where the kid's like, if he's going to have a clean pocket, dude, and he can't get comfortable in the game, you're going to see the erratic Zach. He's going to be running around, running backwards 20 yards, doing all this stuff. It's like, that's not a good scenario for him. And this offensive line, it's kind of on Joe Douglas, dude. This is kind of line he brought back. He was comfortable with Connor McGovern. They banked on Dwayne Brown. So these are your guys. They've got to play better. If you have to go, they went 2 tight end set a couple times. They had like the jumbo format because they had to, man, to run the ball, but they had to protect something because they couldn't do anything else. Mm-hmm. So now you're going to limit your offense because your offensive line is bad. So it's concerning, man. Like you said, if you play like this the next 3 weeks, this kind of offensive line, he's going to get smoked. There's no way. Like, the Dallas Cowboys are just going to thrive. But Mekhi Becton, like, he's, like, I'm rooting for him, dude. I am. I want him to see him do well. He struggles with speed.
Yeah,
guys.
we all are.
But he struggles with speed, guys. You saw it last night. They turned him, boom, off the races they go. If there's no running back in the backfield, Zach's running for his life. And Dwayne Brown, too. It was like, you saw things, you're like, all right, it's only one game. But you don't have wiggle room now, because now it's like you have a young quarterback back there. He's not a wily veteran like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and man, like, another thing too. Well, I guess some good news here. I don't know if you saw it. Like, I think it was like an hour ago, the Bengals went out and released Lyle Collins.
Oh, did they really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'm not saying whatever. Collins is like a top 5 tackle in football, but if he was a guy that I felt like the Jets should maybe pick up the phone and try to trade for, on his contract. Now he's out on the open market. Like, the Jets, because as much as it sucks to talk about the Rodgers injury here, and now we're down to Zach Wilson, behind him Tim Boyle. What if there's a scenario with the offensive line? What if a tackle goes down? Yep. Nobody wants to talk about these things. Of course, it sucks to talk about it. Nobody wants to be depressing, right?
Yeah.
But it's football. We know what's going on with like players across the league. Like, guys get hurt. There has to be like plan Bs in place. And again, I know the front office and the organization doesn't want to, be in the realm of, well, hey, if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, what do we do? Nobody wants to really dive into it, but it's like, that's a realistic thing that could happen. And it's what happened. And it seems like right now the plan is just to roll with Zach. But no, going back to the offensive line, I think Lyle Collins should 100% be in the minds of Joe Douglas and, this offensive coaching staff as we stand right now.
Yeah, and I think they brought in DJ Fluker, I think, today too, for a workout, didn't they? I think I saw
really?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, no, like, they have to do something, man. They got to tighten it up. And the other thing too, it's interesting, is that the situation they're in right now, and this isn't first guessing. I talked about this for 6 months, dude. Is I wanted a backup quarterback not to be Zach Wilson. I think we talked about it too on a couple interviews we did, where it's like Teddy Bridgewater, Gardner Minshew, have somebody else behind Aaron Rodgers, and let Zach Wilson have like a just a redshirt year. Like, you sit back and learn from these guys, because you're probably a year away from really figuring this out, because you need to be rebuilt that much. But the Jets are kind of arrogant. They're like, you know what? Zach's our guy. They're kind of like, Aaron's not going to get hurt. Zach's going to learn. We're going to be fine. And now you're sitting here where you're like, all right, you have this team that showed you last night how good they are. This team is stacked with talent. You're a quarterback away from being very, very dangerous. Is that quarterback Zach Wilson? We don't really know. But I'd feel a lot more comfortable tonight if my quarterback was Teddy Bridgewater or Gardner Minshew or somebody that I can know can win football games, right? Would you? Like, am I crazy?
No, I think the thing is with Zach, it's like we just haven't seen it on a consistent basis. Has Zach had some good games? Yeah, like throughout his career, but we haven't seen that or really those performances
Yeah.
from Zach where it's like week to week to week to week, he's just managing the game.
Yep.
I think the thing that's kind of disappointing about it all is like Zach doesn't need to go out there and throw for 300 and multiple TDs.
Nope.
He doesn't need to
Nope.
play hero ball. He doesn't need to like launch the ball down the field, and he really just needs to come in and manage. And I know game manage is like such a negative term these days, but I think I'm honestly not against game managers. I think when you are a stacked roster, when you have a great defense that will get you the football back
Yep.
constantly, whether it's 3 Jordan Whitehead interceptions, or
Yep.
if it's just holding them to 3 and outs and having them punt tons of times throughout the game, it's such a luxury. So in essence, the quarterback, and then you flip it and you look at the offensive side, it's just like, okay, well, if you have two good running backs in Cook and Hall, you got some good, solid wide receivers in Garrett Wilson, who came down with that insane
Yep.
touchdown pass,
Yep.
or
Yep.
touchdown catch rather. Like if he didn't come down with that, like who knows how the game would have came out, panned out. But you got Alan Lazar there who's making some plays last night. You got a veteran in Randall Cobb. You got some veterans in the tight end room. Like if Zach could just go out there and hold down the fort and not mess up, not throw, not be the reason why we're losing,
Yep.
I think the Jets will win their fair share of games. I mean, I know it might sound a little crazy, and
Like,
it sucks to be talking about it on the like the day after Aaron Rodgers is ruled out for the entire season here. But yeah, I mean, from Zach's perspective, it's just like, man, there's so much talent in this locker room. We just can't have games where it's multiple INTs. But another kind of point to kind of link to it. It's like the play calling with Nathaniel Hackett. Like, I don't know if you picked up on like all the screens
Yep.
too. Like last night, it just seemed like they were a bit cautious with Zach throwing the
Conservative.
football down the field.
Yep.
And it's
They're
like, okay,
scared, dude. They're scared of him. Like, I mean to cut you off, but like this is what bothers me. They know he's a rattled quarterback. They're trying to get his confidence back, and they don't want to take those chances because they don't want him to lose the game. They're like, all right, we're gonna win the game with the running game. We're gonna win with our defense. Like they weren't like even like the fourth quarter, dude. They were scared on third down. They didn't throw the ball. Like Aikman was like, "This is the time to throw the ball," and like I knew I was sitting there. I'm like, they're running it, dude. Saleh is not letting this kid throw the ball. You knew he wasn't gonna throw it. Like, and they got ultra conservative, and it drives you crazy. Like, listen, if I'm going down in flames, let this kid throw the ball around. If he can't do it, then he shouldn't be in the game. Simple as that. You can't hide him, dude. And like, you made a really good point. You don't need to be a game manager. Play sound, fundamental football. Like Aikman shredded him on the one play. He's like, dude, that's a basic read. Like on the interception with Milano, he's like, that's a basic read. Like, why did he throw that football? There was nobody. I mean, it was like 3 guys could have picked it off. So it's Hackett was weird last night. I think Saleh probably told him, reel it back in, man. We can't call certain plays. Let's count our defense and special teams. But that's a problem, man.
Like historically, God, like historically, you think back, I think back to when I was younger, the backup quarterback, right? QB2, traditionally, it is a veteran. It is somebody who's older, somebody that might not have the Mahomes, the Josh Allen level of talent, the arm strength, the mobility, like a Lamar Jackson or anything like that. It's the older, veterans that have seen a lot of football, that have a really, really, really good understanding of defenses, what defenses are trying to do to the offense. They have a great understanding of where to go with the football, where are the checkdowns, where are the outs, right? If the play breaks down, where can I go with the football? You don't really have to coach them in the department of throwing the football away or just going down or just throwing it in the dirt. I think of like Kellen Clemens, like I think of Chad Henne with the Chiefs, just like
Chase
older.
Daniel.
Yeah, Chase Daniel. It's another great example. It's like that's, to me, just when I think about the stereotypical backup quarterback, that's what I think of. And when I think of Zach Wilson, it's the opposite. It's a young guy where we don't really know 100% if he can go out there and function in the offense and really maximize maximize its potential. Is Hackett going to have to, call a limited game from here on out just because we don't have that from Zach? We're also, in another thing that kind of ties into being a veteran backup, it's like you can let him loose a little bit and you don't have to worry about his like confidence being shaken.
100%.
Like Mark Brunell too, like he was with the Jets back in the Rex Ryan era.
Yep.
It's like if he had to enter the game and he threw a couple picks, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Josh McCown.
That's another one. He would push the ball, and I'm not saying just go out there and be careless or anything like that. It's just strange, right? And I get it from like an optic perspective. If the Jets are even concerned with that, right? Where it's like Zach's the number 2 overall pick, he's not going to play this season because we got Aaron Rodgers. He's going to learn and he's going to take over whatever it is 2 years from now. Like I get all that stuff, but it's like now we're in a reality where Zach Wilson is the starter. It is his team. We cannot, as a coaching staff, as an organization, be in a position to where it's just like we don't feel comfortable with Zach now starting because what is the backup quarterback in the crazy event that the starter goes down? He now the backup needs to now step in and win football games. Maybe not to the same level as the starter, but it's like, can you be enough of a supplement to 50, 60, 70% of the games? Can you go out there and just manage and look like a normal functional quarterback? That's kind of my stance on it. I feel like right now it's just weird. I just feel like it's very shaky when it comes to Zach Wilson kind of moving forward.
Yeah, and the thing about it too is like his team didn't believe in him last year. They literally didn't believe in him. They wanted a Mike White with broken ribs to play ahead of him. They were wearing Mike White t-shirts. Like they didn't rally around Zach. So you got to figure if he starts playing poorly, like he played all right last night, it wasn't great, but if he starts doing the same things he usually does, they're going to be like, dude, this kid's killing us. Like, it's like, because this team knows, they know they are a championship caliber team. This defense knows they are a great defense. The running backs know they are legit. Garrett Wilson knows he's a star. Like they know they're ready to win. And if he's the one piece holding him back, and they saw it last year, because it happened last year when they went down the stretch, they lost all those games, right? The Jets didn't even play them in Miami. That's the problem you're gonna have. The mental thing in the locker room, they're gonna look at him like, dude, you're killing us, man. Like there's so much pressure on him now, and I don't care what Salah tells us. That locker room is staring right at you, like it's on you, kid. You've got to take us because we want to be there. And can he handle it? And I don't know that he can, man. Like I'm like, it's gonna come off really negative because I'm probably still pissed off from yesterday. But it's just we're only as good as what we saw. Like we saw things last night that we saw last year from him, right? So it's concerning. But we can go to other positions if you want. We can go to to me, to see Breece Hall in the first quarter take off like that. I'm like, he's back. Like, I think he gassed out towards the end. Like that one touchdown he should have scored, but he got tired. But I'm like, that's like for week one to see what you saw out of Breece is so encouraging. And to see what you saw out of Dalvin Cook, man, we're like, all right, you saw the quickness, you saw the cutbacks, the explosiveness. Yeah. Like if you want to hide the young quarterback, the running backs, you have it because these guys look awesome, dude. Like that 1-2 punch is legit.
For sure. And it's like, and it just kind of goes back to the point that we were just talking about, where it's just like this roster is like 90% finished. It's just quarterback play and pass pro. Those are the only two gripes, in my opinion, right? Linebacker play, safety play, corners, D-line pressure, ability to stop the run. Can you get after quarterbacks? The answer is yes. Young talent, vets, guys that have playoff experience. We have leaders. We have young players that know their stars, just like you said. We have explosive players offensively. We're deep at multiple positions, but it starts and ends with the offensive line protecting the quarterback. And if we can get that protection, can the quarterback deliver passes? Can he deliver throws in the passing game? And that's like the biggest question. One team that I was talking a little bit about in the recap video that the Jets could, potentially mirror, not like scheme wise or anything like that. But if you think back to, I believe it was 2020, the Cleveland Browns, when they had Baker Mayfield, they were coming off the Freddie Kitchens era where they were throwing it like crazy. And it was just erratic. Mayfield was throwing picks left and right, and he was still a young quarterback. You had Odell. I believe you had Jarvis Landry on the team as well. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Stefanski came in and just said, hey, we are going to play great defense. We're going to run the ball. We're going to feed Chubb. We're going to feed Kareem Hunt. We're going to, really roll out heavy packages and take the game out of Mayfield's hands. And when he does throw, it's going to be off play action. It's going to be getting him outside the pocket and letting him manage the game. And that, ironically enough, was not only the Browns' best season in the past couple of seasons. I believe they were 11-5 and had a playoff win or two. I think it was probably just one playoff win.
One was close. I think the second one was close, and they lost in the end or something like that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember they lost to Kansas City. But regardless, that was one of Mayfield's best seasons as well.
Yep,
You know, I'm not saying that the Jets are that same exact team, but if the Jets can look like they did against Buffalo in the run game, and understand that we got two talented backs, like I understand that it's pretty black and white from a defensive perspective. It's like, okay, what are the Jets going to do? They're probably going to run the ball, but it's like that's what like the Titans offense has been all these years. It's been run first. You can even point to
Baltimore,
Minnesota. Yeah, Baltimore is another one, but Minnesota with Dalvin Cook, maybe not like since O'Connell took over, but for sure during the Zimmer era, like teams go out there and do it. There's a reason why these backs are so so popular. These guys are household names, and the Jets have two of them. Let's lean on the running game.
Yeah, 100%, man. I completely agree with that. Look at the 49ers at times. The 49ers do the same thing, too. They freaking bring in Brock Purdy, and the guy's just like, the guy becomes a star. Like, you put him in a system, it's plug and play. You have, like, your system, run the ball, great defense, you can win games. And you look at, even going from the running backs to the tight ends, you know who I was really impressed with last night? Was Ruckert, dude. Jeremy Ruckert was a savage in blocking, man. He was blocking at the line, going downfield, mauling guys. And like for a young guy to come in year two with like really no expectation, he's earning reps quick, dude. Because they're gonna go two tight ends. They have to because they can't protect anybody. So you're gonna have to go jumbo. But he looked awesome, dude.
Yeah, I think and again, it just speaks to the depth at specific positions. As far as depth is concerned, defensively, I feel like we're pretty much checking all the boxes.
Yep.
Again, Carl Lawson didn't play the stereotypical best pass rusher, the biggest name on the Jets defensive line. He didn't play, and we were getting in the backfield attacking Josh Allen. So it just speaks to the depth, and tight end is just another one of those positions where we're great at.
Yep.
It just comes down to, again, the tackle position, talent isn't the right word, but just, in the event that Dwayne Brown misses some time, in the event that Mekhi Becton goes down, or whatever the case is, do we have enough confidence in Billy Turner and a Max Mitchell? One thing I do want to ask, though, because the same thing can be said with QB now, because it's like, now Zach has to play, but he's been hurt too before in the past. He was hurt back at BYU. He was hurt last season. I believe I think he missed some time his rookie year as well. He missed, I think, a couple games. If Zach goes down, now it's Tim Boyle. What are you looking at right now for backup quarterback? Are you thinking maybe a bigger name? Are you thinking trade, veteran, free agent? What are you thinking?
Dude, I'm exploring every option possible. Like, I think you could probably, everybody's saying Colt McCoy, like the whole Matt Ryan thing, I'll pass on that. Tom Brady's not going to happen. Matthew Stafford's not going to happen. You got to get creative, man. Like, and this is what bothers me, because this could have been done in the offseason. Like, you don't have to be in this position. They could have, and the guys that are out there that you wanted didn't sign for a lot of money, dude. Like, Teddy Bridgewater was a couple $1 million. Like, this was so. Like, who are some names you're looking at? Because the names, like, I saw Jameis Winston. I'm like, oh.
All right, so I'm gonna rattle names off, and you give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. All right.
Okay, let's do this. This is painful, man. Can you imagine this? This is week one. We're doing this.
I know. All right, first name up, Joe Flacco.
Come on, man. No, I can't do it.
All right. Thumbs down. All right. Name number 2, Jacoby Brissett, Washington.
I would do that. I like Jacoby Brissett.
Quick little detour here. I think, when people talk about like the high end backups, right? The Brissetts, the Bridgewaters of the world, the Gardner Minshews, it's like, yeah, those guys I think would make sense. But if you're a Washington fan, if you're a fan of the Lions, right, or the Saints with Derek Carr, it's like if Carr goes down next week, the Saints are in the same position that the Jets are in right now. If they move Winston, and it's just like, great, we get a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick, but now we have to go figure out how to go replace Derek Carr. Like, they already have that plan B in place. Like, that plan was already completed by the time the season rolled around. Same thing that can be said with Jared Goff. They can look at a guy in Bridgewater and pretty much have a veteran in the building, a seamless fit, somebody who already understands the offense. I think one of the biggest hurdles that the Jets have to face now is like, yeah, you can go out and get a quarterback. There's still going to be a multiple week-long process for him to get comfortable within the system, the verbiage, the chemistry with other players, how everything is going to, work. I think I saw a report. I think it was Albert Breer who said that, maybe like around the trade deadline, the Jets could be looking at quarterbacks. I'm thinking, okay, that's 7-8 weeks from now.
Yeah.
If we go out and acquire a quarterback, by the time he's ready to play, it's going to be week 11, week 12.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty risky to
Yeah.
me. The Jets, because we have that understanding that Rodgers is done for the year officially, and we're looking at Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle, I'm making that move as soon as possible. As soon as
Sure.
possible, I think there needs to be a massive sense of urgency within the organization, really from top to bottom. With every passing day that goes by, it's just one less day that a quarterback has to understand, to learn the system, to meet the guys, to get with Hackett and get on the same page. It's just I hate to use that. I hate to frame it so negatively, but it does feel like one of those hourglasses, right? And the sand's just kind of slipping, and it sucks. But going back to
But no,
the
but
name,
just to your point though, real quick, I
yeah,
agree. Like if they do something, you're making a statement to the locker room. Look at last year when Brees Hall went down. They immediately went out and got James Robinson. Like, you know what?
Mhm.
Boom. We are not screwing around. We want to win. Like Salah said all the right things today. Zach Wilson's our guy, all this stuff.
Yep.
But it's like, all right, that's a statement though, where it's like, listen, we all know Tim Boyle is relatively unproven and probably not all that good. He was Aaron Rodgers' buddy and knows the system with Hackett. Great. But if they go out and make a move, like you said, time, you're on the clock now. Like this is week one. You got to win. You got to find ways to win games going forward. Make that move. And it shows the locker room we're not screwing around. Like we know what we need. We're not going to sit around. We're not going to be complacent. We're not going to be arrogant. We know we have a hole now. We got to fix it. You made a really good point, dude. I can 1000% agree with you.
But it's like, time is of the essence here. Yeah, Rodgers gets hurt. It freaking sucks, man. Every Jet fan. I mean, there were fans of every other NFL team that were disappointed to see Rodgers go down last night. It's like, it sucks, but it happened. And we got 16 more games left. Time is of the essence. If Wilson goes out there and God forbid he gets hurt against Dallas, is the plan just to roll with Tim Boyle? Like I want a move made, and I'm not necessarily saying I need a quarterback in the building to overtake Zach, or we need to create this quarterback competition and this whole distraction thing. I'm just saying let's get somebody in the room that we feel good about as a team. And I know it's obviously it's not just at a snap of a finger that you can make something happen like that. There's moving parts, but man, like I want something done immediately, even if Zach is the guy, even if it's, Zach's team in Salah's words, even if the plan is to play him for the rest of the season, I still want somebody else because Wilson, again, hasn't played that full season. If things get rocky, I don't want to be just trapped in a corner with this loaded of a roster.
No, that it's an insurance policy. Exactly what it is. Like you have a win now team. You can't quit on the season. You got to keep preparing yourself for the worst case scenario. Okay, we're in a really bad spot right now. Zach is here, but if Zach goes down, like I don't want to be in that spot where we were like what with like Trevor Siemian, Luke Falk. We dealt with quarterbacks that like this one, some of the worst quarterback play we've ever seen in our lives. Like I don't want to be in that spot with this talented of a team. Right? This is like you saw it last night, dude. Like this defense is high level. Like what? Josh Allen, he got picked them off 3 times, had a fumble recovery. They're flying around, and that's a high flying offense. They can hold their own. Don't waste all this talent with bad quarterback play. So go out and get somebody, get them today, get them tomorrow. I'm not worried about Zach Wilson's feelings, dude. It's an insurance policy. Hey, kid, if you struggle, guess what? You're going to come out. If you get hurt, we got to replace you. But we're going to replace you with somebody that's competent. Not that, like, we don't know what Tim Boyle is, but I have a hard time believing that, he's ready to take over his team. So you got to do something, man.
I completely agree with you, man. Like I'm blown away that we are, I'm blown away that we're in this
September
position.
12th. Like we were so excited a week ago. We're talking about breaking records, going 12-5, and
I know. All right, back to the list. Back to the list here. Gardner Minshew.
Yes.
So with these higher tier guys, are you okay overpaying for like a 3rd round pick? Because I don't see these teams just saying, all right, well, here's our insurance policy. Give us a future pick.
They know we're desperate too.
Yep.
Man, you know what? I'll probably regret saying this, but I would overpay because I'm desperate, man. Like I want to win so bad, and I want the best possible chance to do that. So I mean, I probably would have to, right? I guess you're kind of stuck, dude, because they know you're desperate, and they're like, hey, man, take it or leave it. This is what we're gonna do, or you have Tim Boyle. Up to you.
Okay. Right. So I'm assuming yes to Teddy Bridgewater,
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
How about Davis Mills?
I like Davis Mills. I don't know why though. I wouldn't mind. I'd take a flyer. He's like a gunslinger.
Yeah, Case Keenum.
How old is he now?
I think he's up there. I think he came out in 2014.
He's a wily dude too, though. He's won some football games. But the thing is, like, what are we asking him to do? Manage the game, make a couple throws, especially if you're going to feature Dalvin Cook and Brees Hall. I mean, bring him in, dude. Can it really hurt? He's better.
Yeah.
He's better than Boyle. I guess that's my standard. Is he better than Boyle? And can he maybe make some legit passes? I wouldn't. I mean, I'm desperate.
Carson Wentz.
Oh, dude. I mean, he's bad. He's just bad. But he's got talent. He's got familiarity with Joe Douglas, I guess, right? Wasn't Joe Douglas with him in Philly?
Yeah.
What do you think about Carson Wentz? I want to hear your take on that because everybody tells me that. I'm just like, he's bad.
Well, I think Wentz gives the Jets at least something to, because when you look at Wentz back with the Colts in 2021, it feels like that's back in like 2018.
Yep.
But when you think about him back in 2021, like from a numbers perspective, like, when you watch the Colts, like the quarterback play wasn't horrible. Like early on, it was actually pretty solid. He wasn't turning the football over. I think he threw 27 TDs to 7 INTs, 3,500 passing yards, completion percentage like just above 60. Yep. But there's a reason why the Colts dumped him. There's a reason why he's not back in Washington, and I know people point to him as a teammate, as a leader, him not really being the most coachable. But are the Jets right now in a position to be, approaching this backup quarterback job with like this like laundry list or like this huge, like a laundry list of question marks or, standards that need to be met? I'm with you. I feel like the Jets are desperate, whether Zach balls out, whether he's, struggles, whether he stays healthy or gets hurt. I think we just need to add at least one more person to the room to feel comfortable about it. Like, again, talking about insurance policies, plan B, if something goes awry, like nobody was foreseeing Aaron Rodgers going down. If something like that happens again, I mean, there's 16 games left in the season. We don't need to be panicking. We don't need to be freaking out. Let's just get that guy in the building. Nobody's saying Carson Wentz is a top 10, top 20 guy, but we don't need him to be with this team. It's freaking loaded. If we can get
how old is he? How old is Carson Wentz? He's young still, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, he came in same year as Dak, same year as Jared Goff, second overall pick. I don't know. I'll actually just search it up.
Yeah, I was gonna look at that because he's got to be young.
Because I know he came in 2016. It was the year after Jameis Winston, so he's 30. 30 years old.
He fits the criteria. He's won games, he can throw a football. I mean,
he's big, he's mobile. I mean, maybe I'm just trying to convince myself here, but like again, because I'm with you. I don't want to be in a situation with like Luke Falk. You know what I mean?
We're having this conversation. I can't believe this.
Yeah, it's wild, but it's just like there's 16 games left. You can't punt the season.
Yeah. I mean, if Joe Douglas knows him too and has relationships with him, he's going to know. I mean, the only thing, he's got to be a good locker room guy. That's the thing, because this locker room's a pretty, tight-knit group, a lot of high character guys, a lot of good guys. He's got to be able to mesh right in and not be a distraction or a problem, because once you come in, it's going to be like, oh, is it a quarterback competition? How is he going to handle himself with the media? You got to be like he's got to say and do the right things. I mean, he dealt with Philadelphia, which is crazy, but that would be on Joe Douglas. He knows him.
Yeah, but I will say this back, like in the defense of Wentz, he's out of the league.
It's true.
For somebody to throw 27 touchdown passes to 7 INTs in 2 years ago, 2021, for him to be out of the league, and that's not even considering his draft status. That's not considering some dominant play in Philly. Yeah. For him to not even get a crack at being the QB3, to be on a team's practice squad, there's something there on why teams are not giving him an opportunity. Maybe during this, I mean, he didn't get I don't even think he got a shot in camp with a single team. He's just been out there. So unless he's asking for a ton of money, which I doubt it at this point, because he did get I believe he did get a big contract from Philly, like late in his, later
Yeah.
in the Philly career. Maybe Wentz has used this time to kind of reflect. I mean, he's not, obviously he knows why the Eagles got rid of him. He knows why the Colts got rid of him. He knows why Washington did not bring him back. Maybe he's grown up and, looked at the situation and said, this is why I'm not on these teams. If I get another opportunity, I'm going to make the most of it. With the Jets, it's a short-term thing. It's not like he's signing a 6-year deal with the Jets
Sure.
and he's just like, all right, I'm packing in, I'm moving to Jersey. I'm, just
Yeah.
settling in. I got to get used to the media. I got to read up on all these things. It's almost like as a, baseball reference, it's kind of like a relief pitcher to a certain degree. It's just like,
No, it's
we're going to bring Wentz in. We're going to sit him 4 weeks for him to learn the system. And if Wilson is struggling within these next 4 weeks and we're losing games because of the quarterback position, and Carson's looking good in practice, and Carson is, being a good teammate, and he's coachable and he's learning and he's engaged, then it's like, what the hell? Like, let's try it at this point. I mean, what's the alternative? To just continue to do the same thing over and over again and see bad play, or just hope that Zach turns it around? I don't know.
and that's the one concern I have is if like I'm like that. I'm not the biggest Zach Wilson fan, so like this is kind of gonna sound pessimistic just on my part, but to me is I don't want them to keep forcing Zach out there if he's not playing well. Like, well, we have nobody else. He's all we have. No, like if he has 2 or 3 bad games in a row where it's like he's clearly in over his head and just swimming out there and just playing bad football, don't keep playing him. Like I want an option on the roster to be like, you know what? Sorry, man, you're not cutting it right now. We have our plan B. They're in the building. They're ready to go, and we feel comfortable, and we're gonna move on from you. Like you can't worry about his feelings because it's like you have 16 games left. You have a chance to do something special, which is not Super Bowl, but at least make the playoffs, right? With this kind of team. Like, I don't want to see them in a situation where it's like, well, this is all we got. So if they consider Wentz, like you said, if Wentz does that, he comes here in these 3 or 4 weeks, he's like a great teammate, figuring things out, looks good in practice, and Zach is struggling, then you make the move. Like, why not?
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons too why Wentz is intriguing. And by the way, for everybody listening, it's not like I'm a big Carson Wentz fan. I'm actually not. I do not like some of the coachable stuff. Just rubs me the wrong way. But I mean, as we've been saying, like this entire pod, it's like, are the Jets in a position to be, just sitting there asking for the world,
Yeah.
unless Tom Brady comes out of retirement, I don't really see a situation where we're going to be getting this humongous upgrade, this obvious upgrade at the at the position. One other name too that I feel like could be interesting is Cooper Rush from Dallas. It's a guy who's won games. He's looked good. He's looked competent. And the Cowboys obviously have they got Dak as the starter, but they traded a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance.
Yep.
Do you trade a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance to permanently keep him as the 3rd string all year, paying him, a decent amount? I don't really know. So I think Cooper Rush could be interesting.
Cooper Rush is definitely an interesting name, but why would the Cowboys do that? Because they're a win now team, man. They look like one of the best teams. But that's like they have their backup. I mean, Trey Lance isn't going to be he's not ready to play, man. I think they're just going to kind of like I think they're looking towards next year with Trey Lance in case like Dak leaves or whatever else happens. Like maybe that's like a little like their own reclamation project, right? Don't you think? Why would they let Cooper Rush go?
Yeah, but it's just like I agree with you. I do feel like Lance is more of the long-term play, but if you have Joe Douglas picking up the phone and saying, "Oh, we'll overpay for your backup quarterback," you just gave a 4th rounder for Trey Lance,
True.
a backup quarterback. You can, I don't know what Joe Douglas would offer. I don't know how much he's willing to go, or how big of a price he's willing to pay. But just trying to think of names like around the league that could be a legitimate upgrade over Zach. And the reason why I brought up Carson, you don't have to give up a draft pick to go get him.
Yeah. No, that's big.
Plus.
Yeah, it's a plus, especially you already lost a 2nd-round pick next year with Aaron Rodgers. You're already down that one.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, man, it's a. I'm sure that's something what Joe Douglas is doing right now, man. They probably have a big little whiteboard there sitting like, all right, here's all the names. What's it going to cost? Salary? What's it going to cost? Trade compensation? You got to figure it out. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's already been rumblings that Jets are reaching out to veterans, so I'm sure we're going to start hearing news tomorrow. I mean, because like nobody can keep the story quiet for too long, but we'll see, man.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. But anything else you want to add? This episode flew by.
Yeah, let's just do the defense real quick, man, because my guy, remember we were talking about predictions. Do I get any credit for my Jordan Whitehead prediction? Do I get any credit for this?
Dude, when he had his second pick, I'm like, bro, Tyson is freaking hyped right now. I didn't know you were at the game, but I'm like, that's Tyson's guy right there. And then he got that third one. I'm like, man, I know he's gonna bring it up on the pod.
I got you. No, but you know what? There were so many stand-up performances. Quentin Jefferson, Al Woods, Quincy Williams was flying around the place. Like
My
they were
dude.
they were swarming, dude. It was like to be honest with you, I always wanted to have a defense. Like I was always envious of like the Ravens and the Eagles because they were always sideline to sideline swarming and they were physical, dude. Like they were laying lumber on people, like setting the tone. The Jets did that last night, dude. They were like just like Quincy Williams was like a man on a mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's my favorite player on the team, man. Like he
Awesome.
reminds me of the players that I grew up watching in like 03, 04. Just hard hitting linebackers, just out there, just flying around. He looks like he's playing on a different gear compared to everybody else. And it's not a shot at anybody else, but when you look at how Quincy Williams just attacks the ball carrier, and I'm not saying he's perfect. Sometimes he over pursues and stuff, but man, like he really sets the tone. He brings a lot of fire to the defense. I love that. I felt like Mosley looked really good as well. DJ Reed, I think he had 10 or 11 tackles. They kept on pushing running plays to his side, and he was stepping up.
Yep. No, CJ Mosley looked faster. They all look faster for some reason. Like I love watching the linebackers, how they play and how they attack. Mosley was like running through the zones. He looked great. So I mean, the defense looked great. And you gotta give some love to Xavier Gibson, man. Like that is
of course.
That is such a great story. And like you can see how happy his teammates are for him. But after the game, he seems doing his interviews. He has like this $1 million smile, and he like genuinely appreciates it, man. Like he's so in the moment and so appreciative of the opportunity. And for him to win the game in overtime, and like we were going nuts, and you're just going crazy. But then to see like the happiness in him, and like for an undrafted guy, dude, it's such a great story.
It's cool, man. It's like you literally can't get better than it. Like
no,
we were talking about. Like on a previous episode, like the 53-man roster prediction, we both had Gibson making it based off of what he did in preseason, as a returner, and he proved to everybody, you know what, I am deserving of making this team. I made the impact. I won the game, and it was just so freaking cool, man. The interviews were awesome.
No, I mean, and it's like for those listening to this, like I know this is kind of negative. We talked about quarterbacks for probably 25 minutes, but like this is where we're at because we just want to win so bad and you want to see this team do well. Like they won. They beat the Buffalo Bills at home and it was huge. Like that's a statement victory for Robert Saleh because they overcame all this adversity. They showed a lot of resilience. They came back from 10 points at 13-3. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get blown out. Like just add fuel to the fire of this Jets disaster. Because usually in the past, they lose a game like this, if we're being honest. Aaron Rodgers goes down. The team mails it in. They get blown out. The Bills fans are mocking us. And we feel terrible. You get like it's a win. They're there, but now it's like the gauntlet they have to face now is just so tough with this quarterback, man. It's like you want to feel good. You want to feel positive. Like I did some videos today. And people are like, bro, you're like so depressed. I'm like, because you just know what's ahead of us now. Like you watch the Cowboys play the Giants, and you saw they just destroyed the Giants, and that defense looked insane. And you saw our offensive line struggle, and you saw Zach Wilson struggle. You're like, oh. How do we buy into this, right? Like we're kind of like trying to convince ourselves right now we can rally this team. It's a tough sell.
Yeah, so I think the one thing that we can as fans fall back on it's just like, what are the facts? Facts are we're 1-0. We're above 500. The Buffalo Bills are 0-1. We're 1-0 and 1-0 within the division, which is huge.
Yep.
It's kind of like a game and a half win.
Yep.
That's always how I viewed divisional rivalry wins. It's like either win by like 1.5 because that divisional record holds extra weight.
Yep.
And the other fact, right? Fact number 2, we got a good football team in that locker room. We got a good defense. We got weapons. We got running backs. We got tight ends. It's like, we are not projected, even with Zach Wilson starting from here on out. Nobody is viewing this team as a bottom 5. Bottom 6 team in the league. Like that's how good of a roster the Jets are. And I think we can hang our hat on those, but it's up to the Jets to execute. Can you patch holes on the fly from Joe Douglas's perspective? Can we protect the quarterback, and can we get quarterback production if he is protected? But I want to see a big dose of Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook against the Dallas Cowboys. I don't really care if they know it's coming. Our guys are better. Like we just have to have that mindset. We got 2 of the best backs in football. We're going to use them.
Yeah, and this is on Hackett too, man. The play calling has got to be on point. Like you can't like if this was last year, Mike LaFleur was calling plays, I'd be nervous. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a disaster. Hackett is an experienced play caller who's done a lot with less. Right? He's made very average quarterbacks look very good, Bortles and whatever else. So it's like, dude, find a way to make Zach like that was his thing, right? He's gonna help rebuild Zach Wilson with a quarterback friendly offense that gets rid of the ball quick, gets the ball in space. Make the offense simple for him, simplify it. Like give him 10 plays. I don't care if it's only 10 plays. And then, and have the running game. And that's it. Find out what he's good at and just call it and let him be him. And a lot of pressure on Hackett, man. This is what he's brought here for.
Yep. Yep. I mean, the defense is going to keep it close.
Yep.
Like, that going into games. So can we just have the offense not ruin the game, not
exactly.
put the defense in poor positions where we're turning the football over. And now it's like, oh yeah, the defense that just got off the field because they held them in, for 3 downs. Now they all of a sudden have to go back out on the field and are expected to cover 15, 20 yards because they're already in the red zone from a horrible interception or a strip sack fumble or something like that. But no, Dallas, I mean, it should be interesting. Again, I think if the Jets keep the ball on the ground, control the clock, play that good defense, we have a chance. I know it sounds crazy because Dallas is looking great, but it's not, football is not like a week to week thing. Like teams match up differently, schemes match up differently, players match up differently. That Giants game was insane, but when you compare Dallas to the Jets now, it's like you don't know if you're going to get a similar outcome. And plus two, it's week 2. We don't know how good the Buffalo Bills were. What if 10 weeks from now, Buffalo Bills got the number 1 defense in football, and it's just like, okay, maybe that's why the offensive line was looking that bad. Maybe that's why Zach was struggling. Like there's so many different variables. It's still so early, but yeah, I think that about covers it for me.
Yeah, no, week 1 is probably the weirdest week because there's so much newness. Everybody's back. It's almost like a preseason game for some teams because nobody played in the preseason. So now you're kicking off all the rust in week 1. You're trying to figure out what's good, what's not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And another thing too, it's just like what's like you look at the household name, the household names, the stars. Joe Burrow struggled. Lamar Jackson struggled. Josh Allen struggled. Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. I know there were some pretty bad drops, but the Chiefs lost opening night in football, opening night at Arrowhead Stadium. Lions came in and won. You look at like even guys like Derek Carr wasn't all that impressive. Yeah, there were some impressive moments, but like box score wise, overall score wise, it's not like this. I mean, the Saints had their hands full with Ryan Tannehill and the Titans. You look at Tannehill's numbers, 3 INTs.
It's terrible.
Like there was a lot of weird quarterback play, a lot of turnovers. And I don't know, it's just a funky week 1.
And that's, because like nobody plays in the preseason, so everybody's back out there. The defenses are always ahead of the offense because the offense is just trying to get in the flow of things. So it's like, all right, you get through week 1. The Jets got to win, which is awesome. Now you go into week 2 against the Cowboys, where it's like, do they have an emotional letdown from this Giant game, which was like they were like superstars? It was the most dominant performance you've seen in forever. Do they have the emotional letdown? But it's also their home opener too, so you don't know like what emotion you get out of that. And the Jets, like the crowd's gonna be crazy. The stadium is gorgeous. But it's going to be interesting, dude. And you made a really good point. There's a lot of bad quarterback play this weekend. So maybe it's going to take all offenses throughout the NFL to take 3 or 4 weeks to get into the flow. And by, like that's what we were hoping with Aaron Rodgers. Like, hey, man, just get through the first 3 weeks. You'll fine tune and start flying. Maybe that's what, maybe it's with Zach too. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, we'll see how it plays out. But no, thanks for everybody for listening. I think this is the longest show that we've done so far, like coming up on an hour here. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging. I know times like are freaking tough with this Rodgers injury, but no, hopefully, next episode we're talking about being 2-0.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.